Hi. I'm here getting ready to do some cube drafts, and today we're doing our cube drafts. This is my first video, so please bear with me. Um, but here we go. As we go into our cube draft, we're going to explain kind of just how I go through the cube and what I draft with, and try to explain all of our picks all at once. I'm a little nervous, so bear with me. Oh, no, no, no. We want to use gold. Gold for gold. Today, as I do this video, it is 4th of July, so happy 4th of July. Most of you probably won't see this until after. So, hopefully your 4th of July was great, and you get to keep all your fingers and toes and eyeballs from all the fun with fireworks. So be careful there. All right. Looks like they're waiting for me and another person. So yeah, what I like to do first, before I look at the pack, I like to view if I see any familiar names who I'm drafting with. So there's T-Bone, Eagle, Yami, Little Whispers, Kron 81, Constellation Kings, Panda Bar. All right, with the hyphenating over A in bar. And then there's me, Lucas Dre. All right, so didn't see anybody I recognized, so we're not going to dwell on that for too long. So we're at about a minute. So when I look at this pack, the first thing I'm going to look for is powerful cards on their own. Pack one, pick one. In any cube, you want to look at the most powerful card in the pack and see if there's anything that is of equal value. Right now, to me, from all experiences I've played with Chromatic Cube, I think Krinko is the most powerful card on its own. The reason why is that not everyone plays red, and those who play red don't actually have answers every time. And if you're not playing red, Krinko becomes this deadly force that'll just snowball into a win pretty much easily. It's the first, like, if you play this on 3, your opponent is forced to deal with it. And that's what I've learned with the cube format, is if you gain a game plan, you want to make your opponents deal with those answers. So we're going to start with Krinko and hope to wheel maybe Lightning Helix, which will probably not be the case. All right. We have a little bit more time this time to explain a little bit more. So we want to have things that balance with Krinko. Ilrog, very powerful card. This is one of those snowball cards that get out of control in this format. Very hard to deal with once it's in play. They either have to counter it or kill it and then mill it off the top of your deck. It's very difficult to deal with this card. Very good, powerful, 6/6 for 5 and trample. Very good card. Other cards in this pack that I would look at: Black Market Tycoon. Maybe that'll wheel. Probably will. Because you kind of want to be green red most of the time with this card, and you're also looking at cheat in big creatures to do a lot of damage to your opponent. Other cards that are good: Karn, Narset, pretty powerful. Artis is really strong. Just a 3/2 menace that gets you card advantage, which can be very good. But the rest of this pack is something, not that great. Hidden Gem in this particular cube, Dire Strain Rampage. Ruining your opponent's ability to get their mana rocks is really strong. Alright, so we have Tolvar Huntmaster. Great card with Ilrog. Enters, you get 2 tokens that'll stick around. You get to attack for 6 more damage. Then it returns to your hand. Very, very good card with Ilhog. Crackle with Power wins games. This will steal games from your opponents they're just not ready for. This format is not particularly game-ending really quickly. Crackle with Power will just end the game. It's very powerful. But I'm going to take Tolvar just because it pairs very well with Ilhog, and this won't wheel. It's just a good card in general. Just to cast it is good. Outside of that, Elspeth Conquers Death. If these two weren't here and it was just some other random cards, Elspeth Conquers Death would be fine. Meteor Golem is kind of cute. with the Razor Boar, but I don't know. I think Elspeth is just a better. Elspeth's Conquer Sec is a very solid pick. So I'm going to take the Tolvar. It might not be the right pick, but I think it'll be the good pick for us. So far, we have 3 legends. The reason why I mentioned that is Captain Sisay. This card is very underestimated. The power level of just getting legends out of your deck and putting them in your hand is very good. The previous cube they had on Arena was... This card was instrumental to the multitude of victories that I had. This is just a phenomenal card. Outside of this pack is not that exciting. If you were looking for the Blink deck, the Archmage is good. Even the dual lands are kind of not where we want to be. Haro is really not that good in this format. I found the lands deck is not that good. Once people figured out how to counterplay against it. A Valorous Stance is probably the most sought after card out of this pick, but I'm going to take the Captain Sisay. I think this card's really good. Definitely will complement our deck strategy so far. So in this pack we have 2 cards. We have Magda, which is good at helping us pour out get mana into play while maintaining a little bit of aggression. But Magda is really not that great because there's not a lot of ways to tap this card to do it outside of being in combat. So we're going to look at Primal Might, which is a phenomenal removal spell and a good way to end a game. I did on my live Twitch stream, I think like a few days ago, I was winning a game and then they top decked this card. Completely blew me out. And yeah, it was... It was hilarious if it wasn't me losing, but it was still pretty good. Great card. Primal Might. It's basically a fireball strapped onto a creature, removing their only blocker, and if you put it on a trample creature, it's just lights out. So we have an interesting pick here. We could either take Palladium Mirror, which is fine. I actually think that might be the pick here, simply because we have some pretty good spells that get paid off for coming into play earlier. So Palladium Mirror is most likely the pick here. We could take Sacred Foundry, which is also a pretty strong pick, seeing as how we are probably going to splash for Sisay. Tarval is bad. I mean, it's not bad. It would be good if the elves in this format were playable, outside of like Llanowar elves. There are other elves, but they're just not that incredible. And Tolvar is just a poorly designed planeswalker, honestly. They could have definitely done something different with this card. Yeah, so we're going to take Palladium Mirror. Just a good card. The reason why I didn't mean to just single out and dog onto that card, because it's not the end of the world. It's just not what you want. So here we have some interesting picks. Since we did take Captain Sisay, Tolsimir is looking really, really good here. Very, very, very fine specimen. Just very good card. Just in general, being able to enter, kill a creature, make a creature, the tempo swing that you can get with Tolsimir is really strong, and it's pretty good with the Blink deck. So it's usually heavily sought after. Outside of that, we have Nahith of the Dire Hunt. This is actually not bad, and then there's a Domri, which would be a fine pick here. But I'm going to take Tolsimir. Just a strong card. It also complements with Ilhog. Granted, the Wolf token is legendary, but that's sometimes it's you get what you get. So here, I like intervention. Like an unchecked Krinko can be lights out, and you do need interaction. It's kind of expensive for what it does. There's also a Nyx Bloom Ancient, which is a pretty powerful mana sink card, mana sink enabler. But I'm going to take the intervention here. I think just doing damage to creatures is very important. Alright, now we can take Faber Elder. It looks like we're going to be in the Naya colors. I'm not really looking at any of these. This Mana Rock is okay. Like, even in the tokens deck, this is just not a card you look for. Which I don't think you should be drafting tokens in this format. But we're going to take Faber Elder. Yeah, so we have the Dire Strain Rampage. For our deck, it'll be a good ramp source at the beginning, but then flashing it back will allow us to kill artifacts and enchantments that become problematic. And there are plenty of those in the format. I'm going to take this. I'm very happy this wheeled. So we have a couple picks. Inspiring Overseer is just a solid creature. Cantrippable, draw spell. And we could get some of the blink cards. Mainly we're looking for the instant speed ones that would be available. We're not looking for like the creatures and stuff to do that with. And Join the Dance is just okay. So we're going to just take the Overseer here. I'm going to take the Mana Fixer. I'm not really looking to play Harrow. Harrow's just a trap card. That card is... Getting that countered, it's just made me go, no, it's just not for me. All these cards are good, but I'll just take the Cavalier so somebody doesn't get it for free. Heliod's a good card. Doom Whisperer, that's such a late Doom Whisperer. That card is so powerful, but we're not in black, not even close. So Bontu, that's not surprising. That card is good, but I don't really like it in this format. Alright, so Halpak Piper is looking pretty sexy here. I don't know why we say that about Magic cards. It does look sexy if you look at the fine art of the female-esque wolf lady. Halpak Piper, very fun card. It's a good way to cheat in our creatures. And we do have Tolvar, so that... Yeah, this card looks like it's a pretty strong card. The Great Hinge is typically an awesome card to take, and our deck would be very complimented by it, but I can't imagine myself playing it in this list, seeing as how we don't really have that many early cards. That's the problem with the Great Hinge. Great Hinge is cool if you can get a lot of creatures into play. And the only deck that can really do that consistently is the token build, which this is obviously not good with tokens, so... and then there's Discordant here. I hope that to wheel. There's other cards in that pack that are really cool, like the Dragon. Very strong. Very cool card. So let's see. So Delinia is an interesting card. There's Blade Splicer, Lyra, Cavalier Dawn. Cavalier's looking pretty good here. This is a good card effect with Ilrog. I know that I'm really honing in on this spell, but this card is the main reason why we are drafting the way we are. Very good card. We have the ability to tutor for it. Being able to just enter cards into the battlefield without paying their mana cost, just 2 mana, is pretty neat. Torrens, Fist of the Angels, is a really good card too. I'm also taking a look at that. I might actually take that and go mid-range. There's also Reclamation Sage, which is also good at taking out mana rocks. I'm just going to take the Cavalier at Dawn. I just think that's a really cool card. Good for our deck. Interesting. So this is the Spring Bloom Druid is definitely better than Harrow because you don't have to give up a land as you cast it. That was the problem with Harrow. It's just not a good card. Not good enough against so many of a lot of people like to draft blue-red in this format, and I understand why you would, because it's fun to take extra turns, which is a popular standing here. But I'm going to take Eska. It's a solid creature that adds mana, and if we do get the kaleidoscope of mana, the Wooburg, as we call it, it'll be really fun to get access to just putting random creatures into play, which we are drafting some of the best ones in the format. So playing the Naya colors here, which means that we'll be looking at maybe getting a sprinkling of the duels, but quite possibly is not what we're looking to do. So here, the Primal Storm is kind of where we want to be. My issue with it is that it's only when it attacks. It won't gain that trigger with the Raise Boar, but we can sneak it into play with, or cheat it into play, not sneak. Definitely cheat it into play with the Piper. Other than that, I don't really see much in this pack, other than you find some prisoners, which can be interesting. Yeah, we'll take the Primal Storm. It's a big threat. It's one of those cards that people do not want to resolve because when it does resolve, it can do a lot of damage. So Teleportation Circle is one of those cards. I said I wanted to look for more of the instant speed, but the more we get the ETB effects, like Cavalier Dawn, Tulsamir, and Huntmaster, makes me kinda lean towards a Teleportation Circle. But we're really not focused on that deck. Outside of that, there's Gilded Lotus, which is one of the mana rocks I was talking about. This is a very powerful one in this format. Probably the best of all the mana rocks to get because it's cheaper than the 7-drop one. But I don't think our deck is really managing for that. Yeah, I'm going to go with Teleportation Circle. I think our deck has enough cards for it to go well with, and Overseer is one of them. Yeah, we're going to take the War Chief here. It's just a good card. Yeah, a lot of our cards are a little expensive. We are going to be looking for mana rocks, but we haven't seen a single mana dork or rock yet. And yeah, I'm getting way too many phone calls right now. All right, we'll take the workshop here. Oh wow, Elsinore, sign me up for that. This card is very powerful. Uh, for those who've never heard of Elsinore, the Grand Cenobite, this card is so powerful. It's a 4/7 vigilance. Other creatures you control get +2/+2. And creatures your opponent control get -2, -2. This is a one-sided wrath a lot of the times. And when it's not killing creatures, it's making yours just insanely huge in your opponent's. This is a card that just says, uh, I'm going to win this game, and there's nothing you can do about it. All right, this pack's something to be desired. We could take the Avernus. Zarel is good at giving haste to all of your creatures, and that's kind of what you want to look at this card. You want to look at it as anything other than a setup card. So you play this, you put a chump blocker out, and you cross your fingers and hope that all your creatures live. Other than that, there's a land and Finale of Glory. Finale of Glory is very powerful, but can be not so great. So we got the Discordant card, which is good. A lot of our lower end stuff could be in there, and it's also a card that blinks really well with Teleportation Circle. So we're going to take that. I was looking at the Triome here, and maybe we're supposed to take the Triome, but we didn't. All right, we'll take Torrens here. Playing kind of like a real serious mid-range deck. Don't really need any of these cards, but we'll just take Platinum Angel for now. Just because we didn't really have anything. We are looking for mana fixing in our deck. We don't really start till turn 3, which is not where you want to be with a deck in this format, so we'll just take cards at this point. We're hoping to get some of the mana dorks, so maybe other people have jumped on them. I imagine some of them have, but the fact that we haven't seen any. So we'll take the Temple. This can tap for any color. We just choose the color we want to use it for. We probably won't play that Temple, but we might if we end up playing the Eska. So still no mana dorks here. But we will just take the Temple plenty, just to make sure we have good mana. We could take Robber the Rich. That card is good. Cabaretti, Revels is good. I mean, it's goodish. In our deck, it would be kind of awkward. But yeah, Banishing Light would also be a good card here. But we do want to just make sure we get in our mana correct. The better our fixing is, the more elaborate we can play, keep certain kind of hands. When you draft, one of the things you need to concern yourself is being able to cast your spells in a timely fashion. And when you have to wait to cast your spells beyond the curve in which they would normally be fair because you're a little off on your mana count, can really take away from your ability to even fathomably win that game, or even participate in the idea of winning a game, because it's an impossibility. That being said, we have a couple picks here. Angel of Sanctions is good, but this Back Alley Gardener is actually not bad. In our list, we have mostly creatures in our deck, and ramping and keeping our mana vast is good. We could take the Triumph here. I'm going to take the Triumph. My main reason is it does tap for green and white, and it can help us splash to maybe get the planar bridge out there in games where we need it. Okay, so Jukai Visionary. I like this card. It's not going to be great in our deck since we don't have too many things that aren't legendary. It seems so bad, actually. But it is a way to get our mana fixed. Oof, this pack's not great. As a matter of fact, I don't think I can take that. I just don't have enough things that aren't legendary. So I'm going to take Fate Fetters here. It's a good removal spell. It'll help us out. So this Triumph produces green and red, and also splashes black as well. So that gets us a little closer to being able to play the prismatic side. But it does look like we're going to be using it to increase our mana. So we'll go there with it. I'm going to get the Proving Grounds here. Alright, I'll take another Triome here. This produces green and white with the blue in it as well. So maybe we will be able to get our... in some matches, we're going to be able to flip this planar bridge. The fact that we haven't really seen any mana dorks is kind of telling me that the mana format has been solved. Oh, nice. Okay. This is definitely a card we're looking for. We got to take this here. The Cold Steelheart. Both of these lands would be great in our deck. We could take Beanstalk Giant. But, and maybe we should. Maybe we shouldn't worry about any of the mana rocks right now. It's just because it's so far off. Like, we literally have to hit back-to-back ramp artifacts here to be stellar. And we just go with the Beanstalk Giant because it would be a little better for us. Yeah, we just want to keep our deck dense threat at this point. The format isn't, the more consistent our turn 3 plays are probably is more important for us. So we have 5 lands. We're at exactly 23, so we're not really looking to improve that much, but we could probably get a Kroga here. Since nothing in our deck, this would be fine as a command zone card. Because our deck needs to have 3 or greater cards and just lands, and this is a fine card for that. Yeah, none of these cards are what we're looking for. We'll just take a Botanical Sanctum. We can play that here. We did have a land over here. A couple lands, actually, we'll probably play, which will increase our odds of being able to play this on a flip side. Most of the time, we'll just play for mana. So we'll take the Blood Crypt here. We're not going to really change anything in our deck so we can play these other cards. So we'll just take the Fixing. We could take the Skyclave. No. We're just going to play with what we have. Nice. I did talk about taking the Back Alley Gardener. I think it'd still be fine to take here. What we would probably replace is probably one of our 5-drops. Yeah, I don't really see anything. I'll just take the bluff here. Just making sure our mana's good. That's all that's going to matter. Or I should say functional, not good. Taking off-color dual lands is not, like... There's on-color and then a little off there. Here and there is fine, but not that exciting. There's nothing really here for us. We'll just take the Obscura Polymorphous. That card is not bad. So you can exile their creature, and then they get to get a random creature from their deck. But if you can repeat that process, eventually you can basically take out their whole deck. We'll take the Archon. This is the first time I'm going to get to play with Karuga as our companion. Ooh, nice. That is a good duel to get. And it looks like we're going to get to play a perfect amount of basics in our list. Because we're going to play our Karuga as our companion. Our oh, Primal Command. We don't get to play with Primal Command. That's kind of lame. But maybe it's worth it. Like, instead of Primal Command, we could probably run the Polymorphist. Just have an answer. Yeah. That's probably fine. We can try this. Primal Command is very good, but I kind of want to play with this being our guide because it gives us a good reason to play such a weird mana base. Like our curve doesn't start till 3. Does give us, our opponent does gain a lot of information, especially if they're like, oh, maybe we need to be aggressive because this deck has a really strong top end. They might have to mulligan aggressively to a more aggressive hand, but I feel like this format is really hard to be super aggressive. So here, yeah, this deck looks pretty strong based on our curve. And we have a lot of cards that we can tutor for. Basically, we're just getting out threats from our deck. Let's say they have a bunch of tokens. We can tutor up Elšnor, or we go tutor up into Ilrog, play it next turn, get to tutor, if we get to live that long, tutor into an Elšnor, attack, put Elšnor into play, eat all their tokens, hit for 12, because this will give us +2/+2 on our Razor Boar. And yeah, Elšnor will have to go back to our hand, and they can start over, but essentially we have like a toolbox with Captain Sisay here. And Captain Sisay can also get the majority of our cards, so it's always good to go over that really quick. We have, this is legendary, Eska, so we could even go get our legendary god, and if we have the right mana, we can get the legendary enchantment flipped. Krinko is also legendary, so if we feel like we need to play 2 threats in a turn at that point, Krinko's cheap enough to where we could play that and play something else with it right next to it. Maybe we remove something and we need to play another card. That's also a good card to get. This is legendary, so we can get our Planeswalker. They can give haste to all of our creatures. We've already talked about Ilhog. Tristani's legendary. Tolsimir's legendary. Elshnor's legendary. And then Elta is legendary. So, if we feel like it, we can go tutor up this, and we just put a massive threat into play. This is a card that I don't mind getting countered, so if I needed to bait out a counterspell, I could tutor this up first. Like if I'm holding Tolvar in my hand, I probably don't want this to be countered, but if we get this countered, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But if it doesn't get countered, and it's a great test spell because this starts attacking, we get to start casting spells off of our opponent's deck next to our own, which is really powerful. So overall, I think our deck looks like I would give it about a 5. My issues with this deck is that we are playing Karuga. That's cool, and I feel like that's what makes it a 5. If we didn't have Karuga, I would say this is about a 4 in deck construction because we do not have very many. We have no 2 or 1 drop plays, and our power level is pretty good at the mid-range level. I'm not worried about the aggro decks. It's just very important to hit good mana rocks. And seeing as how we don't have very many of those, but we do have good mana acceleration in Beanstalk, the Mirror, Elder, Rampage, and Eska, if we so desire, to really just kind of pull ahead into getting into our 5s and our 6 and 7 drop cards. So with that, I'm going to cut to our draft portion, and it'll be just a second.